Whoa, 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 whoa. Are you scrolling YouTube at work? At my work that I employ you at? I'm your boss now. It's okay. This is a safe space. I'm not really your boss. But as a fellow YouTube scroller, I totally get it. And I think the reason that you're scrolling YouTube at work so often, like I do, is that your mind and body have something to tell you and you're not listening. There's a problem that you're ignoring and you may not know what it is. And look, like I spent the last probably 2 of my 4 years at Amazon like fucking on YouTube or playing video games during work hours. I was lucky enough and privileged enough to work from home for the last like 2 or 3 years of my tenure. And this is how my days would go, especially like during the pandemic, like during lockdown. I would wake up 10 minutes before my 10 o'clock morning meeting. I would roll out of bed, put my glasses on, and dial into the meeting. I'll give my update on whatever like small progress I invented yesterday so I could tell them this at the meeting. And then I would just browse YouTube for the next 5 hours. And then around like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the dread and anxiousness would have finally built up enough to push me into actually doing some kind of work so that I had something I could say tomorrow at tomorrow's morning meeting, like some small progress I could report, or at least something I can tell them I got stuck on before I start all over again on the YouTube money train or, you know, the browsing train. Bro, and that's what I did for months. I did this for months at a time, months on end. And, you know, sometimes I was more motivated to work. Like sometimes my people-pleasing tendencies or perfectionism kicked in enough to push me like a little bit harder and motivate me to like actually work on something at work, trying to like get something done. And then, you know, sometimes it got worse again, like a cycle, like a sine wave. And I just lived like that for like 2 or 3 years, and like it's not cool. It's not fun. Like it sounds fun to just browse YouTube every day or play games, but really like a lot of it ends up feeling like suffering. Because like this is work that I used to love and like be excited to do. And it sucks to feel like if you've ever been in this place where you're not enjoying what you're doing, but you still have to do it, or at least like pretend that you're doing it every day, like it really wears on you. You take like psychic damage every day, because that's like not how you want to be spending your life. Like that's not what you want to do. You want to spend your time doing shit that is interesting and fun and that you're excited about, like stuff that energizes you, makes you go like this. That's the dream. And that is exactly what we're trying to do, baby. If you don't know, my name is Kirby, and I was a software engineer at Amazon for a little bit over 4 years. And this little corner of the internet that you've somehow stumbled into is where we're trying to spend our time doing shit that's interesting to us. We're trying to move from work that sucks to work that's fulfilling. As for me, I'm trying to start a one-person online solo business, baby. And this is where I share everything that I learn along the way. Plus video games and whatever other dope shit I feel like posting, honestly. Dude, and I understand this perspective. It took me a long time to break out of this perspective that I am not a machine. You're not a machine. We people are not machine. And when you say that, like people agree. Of course, people understand, like I'm not a machine. I can't and shouldn't be 100% productive all the time. That's impossible. It's not a real thing. But that's different than like how we feel. Especially like if you're a people pleaser like me, or if you grew up being a people pleaser or a perfectionist, when somebody asks you to do something, and that's like what a job is, right? Every day, somebody's asking you to do something. Or like in the grand sense, someone has asked you to do something for them, right? And that's to do this job that you get paid for. When somebody asks you to do something, you feel like a life debt, bro. Like you gotta fucking do that shit. It's not enough to do that shit. Like you have to full send it. You have to do the best job that you can. And so people end up ignoring their mind and body's natural signals and try to just like power through, just like white knuckle it and push through disinterest and lack of motivation, instead of just like slowing down for a second to realize there's a problem and try and figure out what the problem is and how to keep moving forward. And like a lot of that comes from, like, if you're a people pleaser, again, like me, desire for your boss's approval, your peers' approval. Like you want people to like you. I want people to like me, as much as it like pains me to say that, right? Like I don't want to give a fuck what any of these fucking idiots think, but like I do sometimes. And that I think is human too, and it's okay. But it can lead you down this path. Like your boss hired you to do a certain job, and that's the job you get paid for. And if you're not doing it, then you're not earning your pay, right? That's like the industry, automated factory worker mindset, right? Like I have to sit here and chop this log all day long, every log that comes by. If I take any breaks, I'm failing or whatever. I've obviously never worked in a factory, bro. I'm lucky and privileged enough to say, because it seems like hard fucking work. And it comes from like just this general stigma in America or in like capitalist modern societies that like being productive is good and being lazy is bad. And if you're not working, then you're being lazy and you're bad. And all that like kind of swirls together to combine and make this like guilt complex where you're not working and you feel guilty that you're not working, but you like want to distract yourself from feeling guilty and feeling bad. And you end up scrolling YouTube or you end up playing League of Legends, which are not bad things to do. But the way that you're using that is to distract yourself from not wanting to work and feeling guilty about not wanting to work. And it just keeps you stuck. And that is how I felt for like 2 to 3 of the last 4 years. And you know at some level that you used to like this work, and sometimes it's fun and that makes it more frustrating. But if you can just hang on a second and give yourself the space and the permission to not be productive all the time, or even any of the time, or most of the time, you can make space enough to listen to like what your mind and body have been trying to tell you, and make space enough to think so you can try and figure out like what's bugging you, like where's the problem coming from, where has your interest or motivation gone, like what is draining that, and what might be steps you can take towards having a better day, being interested in what you're doing again. And those steps don't have to be quitting your job or getting a new one or starting an online solo business. It could just be talking to one of your coworkers or your manager about a problem you're having, a project you're assigned to, some decisions that were recently made, whatever it is. It could be anything, right? But the essential like realization is that it's okay. It's okay for some days or even a lot of days or all the days or most of the days for a while to not be productive. It's okay for you to be on YouTube for 5 hours. That sounds insane to say, right? But sometimes that's what you need, and sometimes that's what you need for a while. Sometimes that's what it takes to realize that you're stuck, that there's a problem you're ignoring or that you don't want to see, or that's just hard to address. But you're not a machine, and you don't have to work like that. Expecting yourself to be always on and always productive, that's not a realistic expectation. I promise you. Something we made up. It's like something that corporations made up and that society has accepted as a real example of what human work life should be. And it can be like that. There's definitely circumstances where like certain situations and certain people, certain jobs where people are just like pedal to the metal for a while, but it's not that stable. It's not that common. That work like that is intrinsically motivated and enjoyable and sustainable for the long term. And if you can just try and free yourself from that assumption, like do a little bit of deprogramming from the capitalist industrialist upbringing, you can give yourself some space to understand what's actually going on instead of, trying to ignore the reality that, I'm facing some kind of problem and I'm trying to push past it. I'm trying to ignore it just for the sake of productivity and the corporate bottom line and my own like self-approval. It's okay. Keep scrolling, baby. If that's what you need to do, because I have been there. And many days, that's exactly where I still am. And it's okay. We're getting there. One step at a time. And that is all I got for you. It's another video in the books. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I really, really appreciate it. And I will talk to you soon. Remember to be nice to yourself today. Don't forget. Bye.